Welcome, everybody. We have a big crew today. Mr. Nunley, I got your message. We will be connecting with you on that, so we got you.
I know.
Hey. Now I got something to show you.
So we're going to ask you guys, if you don't mind, to mute your microphone so that we can have a good sound quality today. All right, so everyone, we're going to go ahead and start recording this session today. And I'm going to go ahead and open up. It's 2:02 and we have a lot on the agenda. And so we want to be faithful as possible to the time that we have and have a lot we want to get covered today. Okay, so I'm going to start recording.
Tyrese, I'll keep letting people in. You just
okay,
go ahead,
great.
and I'll try to monitor that and let people in.
Thank you for that.
Got people still coming in.
Okay, once again, good afternoon, everyone. We want to welcome and invite you to this webinar today. We are really excited. The last time many of us were together was way back in June when we were at Central Georgia Technical College for our event that we had together. So we don't take it lightly whenever we get a chance to get together. A lot of you have met with us individually, whether it's through AER or program development or different topics. But when we all get a chance to come together in this way, it's a great opportunity for us to connect and collaborate. So before we get started with everything, I want to just open up the floor just for a couple of minutes. For anyone who'd like to share, tell us something good that you have going on at your college when it comes to apprenticeships. Since the last time we've come together, any new exciting things, anything that you guys have learned together, any success stories that you guys may have experienced, graduations. I've even heard about some of you guys traveling to each other to learn things together. So I'm going to just open the floor just for a few moments and see what you guys want to talk about. And let's not be shy.
Well, I'll start off. This is Corbett from Atlanta Tech. How are you doing?
Doing well. Good to see you.
Hey, I was going to say that we are currently we have a couple of new apprenticeships that have started with City of South Fulton. We were able to engage with them, and we're actually have an active apprenticeship going with them. And that was one that we're doing on our continuing education side of the house. So we're we have continuing ed going on one side of the house with EMTs, and then we also have EMTs that enroll in our credit side of the house. So the combination of both, you get to see both sides of how we operate, but it is a good thing. I think it is a testament to showing how, as a college, we're diversifying how we're using our AER funds and how we're utilizing them to fit our business partners dynamics. Some are shift friendly for the fire department, and some are based around the needs of that fire department for those employees. So just wanted to kind of throw that in there, but that's one thing that we're looking at, and it is very successful for us as far as a programmatic educational route for our EMT students.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Davis on that? And anyone else want to share? And I want to encourage you guys, if you don't mind, if you're not too shy, to turn your cameras on. We want to see those lovely faces and handsome smiles that you guys have. We don't get a chance to see each other all the time. So if you don't mind, we would like to welcome you to Connect. This is our time. This is apprenticeships are in some ways simple, but in other ways very complex. And so we want to provide a opportunity for us to really learn from each other, connect, share. So sometimes turning on the camera kind of allows us to connect a little bit better. So you are very much welcome to do that.
Marvin, I know you have an event coming up. Do you want to mention
Yeah,
it?
certainly. We're really excited. On Thursday of this week, we begin a monthly series about every second Thursday for the next 10, 12 months on apprenticeships, working with companies in the Athens, Northeast Georgia, 11, 12 county area, and inviting them to learn more about what apprenticeship is, how to apply for it. And we've had a very good opportunity we got about 20 companies signed up for our one on this coming Thursday of September the 12th. So we're really excited about that. 20 individuals. A couple of companies have two, maybe three people about the apprenticeship. They want to learn more about it, and certainly the information with regard to the high demand applications. We were very, very fortunate to get it out to a large number of companies, encouraging them to take advantage of it. Certainly that's our goal. But more importantly, we found that a lot of companies in our area just really have not taken advantage of the apprenticeship program, or at least through Athens Technical College. So we're excited that we get the exposure out there. And so we began this series like I said, the second Thursday of each month, third Thursday of each month. Now we're based in Athens, Georgia. We do have a campus over in Elberton and Monroe, Georgia. So we do know that at some point we've got a high interest in companies in the social circle, Elberton, Monroe, Loganville area. And we're actually going to take a couple of our workshops to that particular area and take advantage of the plethora of businesses that are over there that want to really, really, really get engaged in what we're doing. So we're just working hand in hand with local chambers of commerce, working in terms with local business groups as well, to take advantage of that. And certainly we want to partner with you guys to help come educate Northeast Georgia, our 12 county areas with that. So we've got a great kickoff scheduled for Thursday morning, and we're looking forward to at least exposing some new companies. We also just recently began a partnership or the paperwork with Bard Heat and Air Company down in Madison, Georgia. They're really excited. We were fortunate that their COO came and spoke to our heat and air classes here at Athens Tech, came and spoke to them, sparked a lot of interest from that. We were able to take about 27 students down to the heat and air company, of which several gentlemen applied for a job that were open. They're getting ready to graduate. They wanted to take advantage of it. And more importantly, Bard will be coming back each semester to talk to the students personally and invite them to come down, because they have rotating shifts there where the students will have an opportunity to work around their class schedules, and they're going to work with them here as well. So hopefully we can get some of those students as well as workers enrolled in their program. And one thing led to another. We had one candidate or several candidates there. That we were able to now work have negotiated and added all the props with regard to their employees who do not have their GED. They're gonna have like an on-campus GED class there to help those individuals get their GEDs. They're right there on their own site there at Bard. So we're kind of excited about that as well. It's a spinoff of the apprenticeship, but more importantly, have an opportunity for the workers to get their GEDs.
Absolutely. That's really, really exciting. You shared a lot of good information. Thank you for sharing. We look forward to connecting with you this week in Athens for that opportunity. If anybody has any questions about the things that are shared, please reach out to Mr. Davis, Mr. Nunnally about these. If these are some events and things that you want to try to do at your college and want to know more about how they decided to put those things together, that's what this opportunity is for us to connect. Also, lastly, before we get started, please share who you are and what college and what organization you are from in the chat. We want to see who is here, how many different colleges of our 22 colleges are represented today. So and we would like to say hello to you. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I have a presentation I want to share. All right, if you guys can see the screen, if you can give me a thumbs up. Okay, great, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so just to let you know, this session is being recorded. So once we're done and once everything has been edited, hopefully by the end of today, I can get it out to you. If not, definitely by the end of this week, I'll share the presentation as well as the recording and any other information that is discussed today. You are encouraged to turn your cameras on. So thank you guys for doing that. There will be an opportunity throughout today to be able to ask questions. If just to keep everything orderly, if you can do a hand raise to let us know that you want to ask a question, and then we can address you. You can unmute and ask your question. We have about 3 areas where you can jump in and ask those questions. Of course, engage in the chat, comment, share your thoughts, ideas, questions, and also remain on mute just so that we can keep the noise down. And something I didn't say, my name is Tyrese Eccles. I am the partnership and outreach coordinator for the apprenticeship team at TCSG. And my role is putting together our trainings as well as its communications, marketing and communications for getting the apprenticeship message out throughout our state. And so if there's anything I can do to support you, if there's any events and things that you need help with and anything we can do for you, please reach out to me and let me know. Okay. And just a little overview, we have done our welcome and now we're going to go into the training portion of program development. And so we're going to hear from Brittany Johnson and then Danny Mitchell. They're going to share some program development topics with you. And then we'll give you a chance at the end of both of them. You will have an opportunity to ask questions. Following that, we have a guest speaker from Software Partners, Jean Ellis. And I don't know if Nicole Bentley is on the line yet, if there are any other team members who from Software that are here, but they are going to be sharing some really good information with us as well. And then we will hear from Rosalind Dennis to kind of do a quick overview about some of the updates regarding the grants that we have. Adam Hawk will also be sharing some updates, and then we'll close out where I will share some announcements for us. But feel free, in the chat to ask questions. If you have anything, let us know. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started, and we're gonna welcome Brittany Johnson.
So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today, I'm going to just be going over some best practices when it comes to completing the work process, the EAA and the ETA 671. So for the work process, some of the main things that I see when you all are submitting the forms are from the time-based and the hybrid models. And that is for when you're filling in the hours on the form. So for the time-based work process, you are to complete the approximate hours in each competency section. And then for the hybrid work process, it's kind of the same thing. It's similar, but you will do a minimum and a maximum amount of hours for the hybrid work process. And then once you get to the bottom of the work process, you're to put the total hours that each apprentice will have to complete. As well as at the bottom of the work process on the last page, the provider info is a section that needs to be filled out. So the provider will either be the name of the technical college or the sponsor, the address of the sponsor or the technical college, and then whoever's completing the form, you're to put your email and your phone number, as well as the RTI hours. Next slide. So for the EAA, you all do pretty well with filling these out, but the main thing that I see is the confusion between the ONET code and the RAPIDS code. So those are two different numbers, and you can pull them off of apprenticeship.gov or off of the work process. But the ONET code will always be like two numbers dash and then another set of numbers. And then the RAPIDS code will have four numbers and then either CB, TB, or HY at the end to show the model. So on the form, you're to put the ONET code, the RAPIDS code, and the occupational title, as well as the wage schedule. The wage schedule kind of trips people up sometimes, but a good rule of thumb on there is there needs to be an initial wage, at least one wage progression, and then the journey worker wage, which can also be the ending wage for the apprentice. Next slide. So on the 671, you all do pretty well filling that out as well, but this section is one of the ones that typically trip people up. The occupation type is to always match whatever is on the work process or the EAA. So for box 3, for example, if the EAA says that the occupation is competency based, that's what you're to select in box 3. The term length is also going to be on the work process, and we need you to put that in box 4. And the probationary period is not to be over 3 months of whatever the program length is. If there's any credit for the apprentice for on-the-job learning or RTI, you can put that in box 6. And the apprenticeship begin date, there has to be a month, a day, and a year. So if you're just putting July 2024, that is incorrect. So just be mindful of what you're putting on the document, as well as the expected completion date. Once you put it into Rapids, it will populate for you. So if you're unaware of when the apprentice is supposed to complete the apprenticeship, you can get that from Rapids and put that in box 8A. I think Danny's next.
Okay. And just to clarify on the probationary period is 25% or up to a year, not just 3 months. So the 25% of a program. So we're going to talk a little bit about business engagement and talk a little bit about some tips and tricks to be able to help you guys out. This is obviously not the end all be all or anything like that, but when you go and you talk to businesses, you know, as an education provider, we kind of have to change our mindset a little bit. And we think about apprenticeships, we have to have that apprenticeship mindset, right? So the first thing you always want to think about an apprenticeship is a workforce development tool. You know, when we're talking to employers, they want to know how to meet their immediate needs and their needs for the future. So this is the tool that they can use to be able to establish a talent pipeline to be able to help them now and in the future. Apprenticeships also formalize what they're already doing. So obviously we got to know what they're doing, but we'll talk a little bit about that. But what a business is already doing, whether it's from training and mentoring and how they go through training and everything else. So we're going to establish that process and formalize it for them in an apprenticeship program. An apprenticeship is only as good as the program is created, right? So we can go talk about apprenticeship programs and it can be the greatest thing ever. But if we don't develop a program that meets the employer's needs and we don't have buy-in from the employer, then it's not going to be a successful apprenticeship program. And you also have to learn to have that business speak. We oftentimes go into a meeting, and I'm guilty of it as well. We'll go into a meeting, we'll start talking about apprenticeships, and we'll use all the apprenticeship terms. And sometimes I hear employers say, well, I don't know what an RTI is, or we don't know what these things are. So we want to be able to adapt our speak and talk to employers in that space they're in so they can understand that we talk to them in the business language. Then once we get further along, we can tell them what those acronyms are and go through all that from that standpoint. So next slide. So when you think about doing apprenticeship, or when you think about business engagement, and you think about working with an employer, there's a couple of things we want to do. First thing, we want to identify the current and future job vacancies. You can use real-time LMI data. I'm on apprenticeship or on LinkedIn and on Indeed and all the other job sites quite often just to look to see what jobs are out there and what jobs are open and how long they've been out there. Not just how long they've been out there, but how many times they've been posted. because we want to see what the structure of their workforce is like, what they're trying to hire for, and if they're having trouble filling those vacancies. Define the requisite skills to learn the job. Obviously, when the employer says, hey, we need 3 years of experience, we need all these things, that's when they're looking for somebody who's already a seasoned journey worker or somebody who already knows the job. But what skills do they need to be able to come and learn the job? So that's what we want to know when we're talking to an employer. We want to know what skills they have to come out here and be successful in the job, not to already know the job. Also, when you think about an apprenticeship, is oftentimes it's it's a shift in culture, and it's a shift of how they do things sometimes. But when we think about apprenticeships, we have that culture of inclusivity and mentorship, because we're bringing people in, not because they have all the skills they need today, but we're bringing them in because we're investing in them for the future of the company, and we're filling an immediate need. So apprenticeships always have benefits to the employer, and benefits to the education system and the community as a whole. But apprenticeships provide a repeatable, organized framework. So when we develop an apprenticeship program, it's not just for every new hire. It's not just for the people that were through in the WIOA system, but it's for everybody. Apprenticeships work for incumbent workers to be able to upskill their current workforce, and for new hires, and for anybody that you're trying to interact with. So it also increases retention. When we talk about apprenticeships, you can always see from the U.S. Department of Labor, anywhere between 90 and 93% is what the standard retention rate is for an apprentice if they complete the program. Obviously, if they don't complete the program, they're more than likely not retained. But we look at that long-term outcome because it is an investment. So if they're willing to complete this program, they want to stay with your organization. Obviously, the stepped wage increase versus full wages. When you bring somebody in, you're paying them an entry-level wage that allows them to grow inside that organization, and they're getting rewarded for what they learned. So that allows them to continue on the process and receive the skills that they're gained, and obviously receive the wage increases as well. There's federal tax credits that they're out there. There's the opportunity to use the state and federal grants and WIOA incentives as well. And you can talk about those when you're out there engaging with the businesses also. So next slide. There's different phases. The first phase, when you think about engaging with businesses, is research and preparation, and then building the relationship, and then obviously get the commitment. And ABC is something that I learned when I was in the military, and I was a recruiter, and they said, when you go talk to a business, when you talk to a person, you got to always be closing. So that's what ABC stands for, get that commitment. So next slide. So research and development. When you think about, before you go out to an organization or you're looking for a company that'd be right for an apprenticeship, recognize some of the top challenges. Developing existing talent. They may have trouble developing existing talent, so they may have a bunch of job postings open for all their positions because they're having difficulty upskilling the current workers. Attracting and retaining talent. That's, the way the current workforce is structured, that's oftentimes something that's hard. The skills gap in hiring, we look at that all the time when you talk to an employer. Hey, what skills do they have and what skills do they need? Are they able to retain their workforce? And then how is advancing technology changing the requirements for the job? And that's something that we're going to continue over the next 2, 3, 5 years, and even in the near future, is probably going to change how people recruit and hire for jobs. So you want to identify businesses that could benefit from a registered apprenticeship program and the registrable occupation. So we're probably not going to do an apprenticeship for a brain surgeon, but for the CNA, the MA, and the LPN, and the RN, we want to be able to do the apprenticeship. So once again, looking at the companies that are looking to hire and looking to grow, and that need employees now and then want to be able to grow in the future. I know that y'all do this all the time, but identifying the industry trends in your local region and how those occupations are growing, and how can we supplement that with the registered apprenticeship tool, and obviously the education, both short-term and long-term, that a college can provide. Review the job descriptions that are posted. So if you have a company that's being successful and they have job posting for an industrial maintenance technician and the other company's struggling, look at those two job descriptions and see what those differences are and see what the barriers might be for the person who's having struggles being able to hire people. There may be something in their job description that's turning people off, or maybe it's mislabeled or not properly laid out. It might say something other than industrial maintenance technician. It might say something else, and people aren't looking for that opportunity. So next slide. So the next phase is that relationship building. When we're going out there, when you talk to an employer, you obviously want to validate their pain points and learn their culture. It's very important for us to understand, obviously, to listen more than we talk when we're talking about apprenticeship programs and trying to help them in their workforce development needs. Understand their challenges, understand how they're working through the challenges, and other things like, do they have a retiring workforce? A lot of companies come to us and they say, hey, we need to start a registered apprenticeship program. And we hear anywhere between 30% and 50% of my workforce is retiring in the next 3 to 4 years. So we need to start a registered apprenticeship program. So that's something that we hear often. And that is something that definitely can keep an apprenticeship program, the lack of people that are going to be coming into an organization or leaving the organization. And then we want to find out how they're currently addressing the challenges. That's important because we want to understand what their mindset is and how an apprenticeship program can help them continue to expand and fortify what they're already doing to meet those needs. Introduce apprenticeship programs, like I said, using their existing business practices. So how are you addressing those needs? We can show you that by using a registered apprenticeship program, you might be able to enhance and formalize what you're already doing. Share what other businesses in the area are doing. All you guys already do a great job of saying, hey, company X, Y, and Z has an apprenticeship program, and this is how they're able to access talent. These are some of the talent pools that they're able to access. So be able to share those opportunities for success from other businesses, because businesses want to see other businesses and how they're succeeding. The opportunity for the employer to gauge with the other companies in the same industry. So if you have those industry councils where all the employers can come together, talk about what's, pain points across the industry and see how we can address it. And apprenticeships are one of those ways. And then obviously provide that return on investment. And that talks about, there's so many studies out there. One study says that an apprenticeship program, for every dollar you invest, $1.50 is returned back to you in investment after the first year. Some say more, but at the end of the day, the return on investment is higher because the education that they're receiving is education that's specifically designed for that organization, for that person to be successful. So they're not just going through training and saying, we trained you, now go out there and do the job. They're receiving classroom training that is specific to the occupation that they're going to learn. They're reinforcing that through on-the-job learning. And then they're getting mentorship so they can understand why they're doing the job the way they're doing it. So an apprenticeship doesn't just fill a training need, and it doesn't just fill a personnel need, but it's a pathway to success long-term, and it meets those immediate needs. Next slide. So we talked a little about using the business language, and I'm just as guilty of it as anybody, but we just say, when you talk about outreach and selection for an apprenticeship program, we should say, what do you do? How do you recruit people? How do you interview them? And what is your hiring process? In work process and competencies, we say work process schedule so often, we forget to say, hey, what is a job description and what are those position responsibilities? So that allows us to take that job description, match it to the right occupation and say, oh yeah, well, your occupation would be industrial maintenance technician. Let me show you how the job description equates to what you do in a registered apprenticeship program. Related technical instruction, we should say, hey, what are your internal training processes, your external training processes, any education that you use from the technical college or any other source, and then what is your onboarding procedures? When I talk to a company, I always ask them what training they do to onboard people, what training is specific to the job, and also what training that everybody receives or is organization-wide. We talk about on-the-job training, on-the-job learning. That's that mentorship, the supervision of work, and the performance reviews. So if we're mentoring them on the job, they're learning on the job, they're going to say, well, our supervisor goes out and does this, and this is what he checks. And so it really just relates back to that on-the-job learning. So now they can see it in the context that they use every day. The structured wage increases, we always say, hey, you got to have a wage increase, but is it a merit-based? Is it time-based? Is performance-based wage increases? And they understand that. And they're probably already doing it. Well, yeah, if you're getting a raise at 90 days, that equates to that wage increase in the registered apprenticeship program. So we can easily relate what they're already doing to what is structured in the registered apprenticeship program. And that certificate of completion, what is the, do they get any certifications in the position? Do they get the opportunity to go to a higher position? Is there a title change and stuff like that? I'm not saying this is all inclusive, but this will help you guys when you're engaging with the business to really understand what that business is going through. When you go talk to a business for the first time about a registered apprenticeship, you want to understand, like I said, what their hiring is, how they hire people, how they onboard people, what their culture looks like, and what they value the most. Before I go to any organization for any meeting, I always pull up their website. I always look at the history of the organization, find out who the president is, find out who the board members are, because at the end, and what job description, what jobs are open and what the descriptions of them are. I don't want to go into a business and talk to a business if I don't know who they are or what they do, but I want to be able to build upon what I learned on the web page and through my research to be able to understand them wholly when I get there. The next slide. That last phase, obviously getting the commitment, getting that apprenticeship program started if this is the right fit, and address their concerns. And they're always going to say things like, hey, an apprenticeship is a lot of paperwork. I don't want to do paperwork. And that's where you can come in and say, well, we're a registered apprenticeship sponsor, and we want to take that burden off of you. We just want you to train the people that you hire and get them the best opportunity to be successful inside your organization. Then the apprenticeships, a lot of times they say it's, very rigid. We got to do all these things here, but at the end of the day, an apprenticeship is customizable. You can change up to 25% of it, and you can adjust it and do those things that the employer needs the most to be able to make sure they're the right fit for that organization. And they always say apprenticeships are expensive. Everything we do from a workforce development standpoint, whether it's money or time, it's always an investment. This is an investment in their current workforce needs and the future of their workforce needs, and the return on investment is much higher than just hiring somebody. Those fixed costs are always going to be there, but it's how that apprenticeship has that opportunity for that person to be in the organization long term and not just to fill a need today. The apprenticeships also only for skilled trades and unions, and we've talked about that a lot. There's around almost 2,000 occupations out there that are registrable as an apprenticeship program. If it's not, we can work on getting it registered. That's a much longer process, but more than likely the occupation is listed at apprenticeship.gov or something similar to it. So it's there for them to be able to train it and learn it out on the job. Always have the right partner at the table when you want to talk. And that can be from business engagement all the way down to getting the commitment. But if you talk to them about working with the local workforce board, make sure they're there. TCSG partners being there. If they're working with some intermediary, make sure you understand what their role is. And if you need to have the apprenticeship team or the Office of Apprenticeship team there, make sure they're there at the table to be able to address all the concerns, because their time is valuable just like yours is. So we want to get the proper outcome when we have the meeting. And I think that's my last slide. So next slide.
All right, thank you, Danny. Does anyone have any questions? So we've heard from Brittany as well as Danny. If you have a question, you are welcome to do your hand raise, and then we'll allow you a few minutes to ask your question. And if you would like to, also you can put it in the chat. Okay, so I see a question from Mike Pace. You have the floor.
Hey everyone, how are you? So I appreciate the information, good information thus far, and I think a lot of these elements we have done a pretty good job at here at Central anyway. And I guess the question that's burning on my mind is we're kind of shifting some roles and responsibilities at our college. I'm very concerned about the administrative paperwork side of it, knowing what documentation needs to be submitted, when it needs to be submitted. Is there any kind of guidance, flow chart, etc., that can help us discern when we're talking to the client, we got them on the hook, they're interested, they're ready to pull the trigger, what paperwork do I need to initiate and then follow up on routinely so that we can make sure that their apprenticeship is meeting all the guidelines?
Yeah, and realistically, when you're first having the conversation, there's not a lot to go. But when you bring that work process schedule, that's probably the key thing, is making sure there's the buy-in on that, because that's the basis for what you're going to do. That's what they're going to learn out on the job, and it's also going to include your related technical instruction. Since you're an education provider, make sure you have that course curriculum there, so that if they need to change any of it, you guys can get all that in place before you start the registered apprenticeship program. We see it, and Brittany can talk about this, but we see a lot of times we get that registered apprenticeship ready to go, but they're still trying to figure out that technical instruction. They're still trying to figure out what the college classes look like. And before you submit anything, just make sure you have the employer acceptance agreement signed. And all that is in place before you start doing the ETA Form 671, or that contract with the employer, apprentice, and yourself. So Brittany, if you want to add anything to that.
So a good rule of thumb that I always do, like Danny was just talking about, the job description is going to be what you're going to use to find the work process. So before I even go meet with the employer, I always ask them, well, can I have your job description of what you're thinking about doing? And then I'll get on apprenticeship.gov, I'll find a work process, and then I'll take that out there to them so we can talk about it and see if they need to make any amendments to it or what have you. And also take your course schedule as well, since you are a college. And once you get, the buy-in from the work process and the course schedule, then you'll complete the EAA and then you'll submit that.
Yeah, Mike, and I think, obviously Brittany was showing all the documents, and she's the one that reviews them, and they get submitted through her. So, any questions about that, like you say, once you got them on the hook, and then the specific documents, reach out to Brittany and see if there's like, okay, what's next, and what I should get filled out, and make sure, getting it filled out right. We're, at the system office, we're here to support you guys. So, reach out to Brittany. She sees them every day, and she can kind of help, okay, what's the next step, and where to go from there.
And if you ever get confused about the job description and the work process, I also can help you match it.
And also, I think that, and we're also on a lot of those technical assistance calls, or on those calls when you're talking about apprenticeship programs. If you need our help for that, we're always there. And we're also there if you need us to come down and go over rapids and go over some other stuff, and we can do some one-on-one training with you guys. We've done it with a lot of the colleges as well.
That's value added, and we may take you up on that at some point in the near future.
You won't be the first, trust me. So
please do.
Thank you for that question. Did we have anyone else, if you would like to ask a question before we move to the next topic? Right. Thank you very much to Danny and Brittany for awesome program development information. And so now we would like to welcome our guest from Software Partners. And did you, Mr. Ellis, need to share your screen?
I will at a certain point. I'm going to just talk a little bit about who Software is and what we do, and then I'll ask to share my screen. I have just two or three odd things. I'm not going to PowerPoint anybody to death here, but I have a couple of things that I do want to share. So
so at that, just let me know when you get to that point, and let me know when you get to that point, and I'll stop sharing this presentation, and then you will be able to share yours.
Great. As my partner Nicole is still here, I'd like her to introduce herself real quick.
I am. Hi, Jean. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Bentley, and I work for Software Partners alongside Jean. Software is a full-scale workforce development consulting firm out of Houston, but we work in all 50 states. I am actually above you in South Carolina, and I am a registered apprenticeship, subject matter expert. And I come to the Software team from Apprenticeship Carolina, which is also under the technical college system umbrella. So apprenticeship, technical colleges, very much in my wheelhouse, but I am listening in today as part of the team that Gene and I represent that he'll share more information about. I will highlight, while I'm introducing myself, I'm actually going to be speaking in Atlanta on October 3rd with Monty Green from Elevance Health at the ACT Workforce Summit. It's October 3rd, 2:30 in the afternoon is our session, and we're going to be speaking on connecting registered apprenticeship to underserved populations and kind of best practices in that, how Elevance Health uses their program. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that. So just wanted to highlight, since I'm going to be in Georgia, in Atlanta, October 3rd, 2:30 p.m. So hope to see some of you there. Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to Gene.
Thanks, Nicole. So my name is Gene Ellis. I'm up in the state of Maine. I'll be the one with the funny accent. In fact, I do park my car in the yard. So Softful Partners, who are we and what do we do? So we are, as Nicole said, a USDOL workforce intermediary. What does that mean? We are under contract, competitive bid contract to USDOL, specifically to help any entity that can be a sponsor or an employer of apprenticeship program either start, expand, add occupations, work on sustainability, work the kinks out, find resources. So that is what we're charged to do. We are specific in one of our contracts specific to IT and cybersecurity. And we are, as we speak, venturing into OT, operational technology. So we're there really. We are in a what they call a 5-year cycle. So you get, with these contracts, you get a base year. If you perform, meet your deliverables, you get potentially 4 more what they call option years. We are in option year 1, which will tell you that if we do our job well, we can be here talking to you 3, 4 more years from now, right? So so there's that. And then what do we provide? We have a variety of services that come with our contract. The first is technical assistance. It's talking to companies to either get them to be able to spell the word apprenticeship, to just simply make their programs better. We offer limited, modest incentive funding that can be braided with WIOA funding, state funding, other federal funding, ABA grants, state expansion grants, all that, so that can be all added together. We are no cost. Everything that we do with a partner, whether it's an employer that we help become a sponsor or a sponsor that we help find employers, is at no charge. And as I said, in fact, under the right circumstances, we can send a check along. So we also do have here we go. We also do have a related instruction resource that can be used to supplement, in the case of CTE schools or colleges or universities, can be used to supplement an offering either on the workforce side or the for-credit side. It's through a product online portal called Cybrary. We set up an LMS. The apprentices that are registered with our partners can access that for free and take that coursework to either help their experience along quicker for an employer or just simply add to their employability skills. Our team, Nicole and I and a couple of other folks, we have over 50 years of experience in the registered apprenticeship space. I myself have been for 12 years, was a state director, both in an SAA state and an OA state. And I've been doing this consulting work basically for the last 7 years. The last 3.5 was Softful. We can, upon need, serve as a sponsor. We have national program standards, but we far prefer to work with employers and schools that want to become sponsors in their home state. And so we do that. That is our preferred method of working. So in addition to, we have the technical assistance, we have the on-demand online industry-built training courses with certifications, credentials. If those are needed, anybody wants to access those, incentive funding, and we work very hard to catalog every additional federal, state, or local resource that can help any given employer or sponsor fund their program, expand their program. We have over time, and this is where I think I want to, if you don't mind, share my screen really quickly. All right, so I've got to ask to share, and I will do so. Thank you. So over time, and I did say that we were in IT and cyber. This is a list of occupations that we can support with our related instruction, our incentive funding, and our technical assistance. And this isn't 100% complete. It's about 4 months old, but since then we have had 2 more occupations approved nationally. One is called prompt engineer, and the other is called database architect. So you can see right here, if you can see my mouse circling database administrator, that's been a program for many years. Now database architect or / designer is now an apprenticeship program. So and which brings me to the point, one of the things that we do have the capacity to do, and I will, if I can find it right down here, penetration tester. We are the folks that put that program together for DOL approval. So that penetration tester is now an apprenticeable occupation. The same way with database architect, we're the ones that put that together. And we had a large input into the prompt engineer one. So all right. One thing I want to show you, one of the things that we have done is over the last couple of years, I just got to find it. Here we go. So we worked with Cisco Systems to develop national guideline standards for 3 apprenticeship programs: IT generalist, cybersecurity support, and network administrator. And this is a current list of Cisco networking academies in the state of Georgia. So we have the Appendix A all ready to go as a US DOL approved Appendix A that you can customize to what your school is teaching, but it consists of the related instruction consists of the Cisco curriculum for those 3 different occupations. So we work with Cisco on that. And I want to, let's see, real quick before I stop sharing my screen, I want to just show, Danny was talking about speak the language of business. Here's the flyer, and steal from the best, Danny. Here's your language right here. So it's very good. I was smiling because I had just used this on something else to talk to somebody else, and you started talking about it. So there it is right there. Now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now, and you can all breathe a sigh of relief. I just have one more basic thing I want to. We work in all 50 states, so we see what's going on in other states. We see models of the apprenticeship program that are a little different. They're within the parameters, they're within the boundaries, but they're flexible. We have schools that employ their own apprentices, that are their own students. They are actual employees of the school, work in their IT department, for instance. Remember, my focus is very much on IT and cyber. But I want to, now I'm pretty certain that one of your schools, or more than one of you schools, if there's really 22 of you here today, is near a nuclear power plant in Georgia. And whether you're comfortable with that or not, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure you are. So the reason I mention that is we are working right now with the Oak Ridge Associated Universities and have developed and is currently in for approval 2 occupations in the nuclear industry: nuclear technician and nuclear power plant operator. And the reason I tell you about this is because the ORAU has worked with a community college in Tennessee and developed an associate degree program to feed that. And so I just wanted to put that on your radar. If you are near or have nuclear industry in your backyard, you can reach out and we can talk about maybe having this available to you folks, however that might work, right? This is very much a little bit of a work in progress. They, as soon as those occupations are approved, they want national program standards, which would allow them to register local standards in every state. And they may ultimately come to that. Again, I tell you that is a work in progress, but I show it to you, or I tell you about it as an example of what if, what is SOFL involved in? We're involved in OT, which is operational technology, getting in the Internet of Things. It's not just about your cyber people protecting your data. It's about them protecting your pumps, valves, and motors. If they're attached to the Internet, they can be hacked. Pipelines, major pipelines have been shut down. Cities are held to ransom. So this is very much a sort of the future moment where we're gathering what this skill set will be, and it may well be that we are developing a module that can be added to apprenticeship programs like your industrial manufacturing technician, for instance. The guy that's out there with the pumps, the valves, the motors. What does he or she need to know to what to do in the case of an emergency or a hacking event? So work in progress, to be sure, but we're involved in a community of practice on AI. So we would love to have broad education input into what you're seeing, what the requirements, what employers are telling you, so that we can build the best possible apprenticeship program. But we've already got prompt engineer. That's sort of like on the not the fringe of AI, but it's right there. And I think what I'm going to do is stop right now, take any questions that might be up. I see Corbett has got his hand raised.
Yeah, I just have one question. Are there any programmatic restrictions that you have? I know you say you're kind of focused on IT, but are there any programmatic and limitations, or is there some documents that you can get to us that we can look at and see how we want to braid that funding with some of the funding that we currently have?
Sure. I mean, basically on the braiding funding, as long as it's not coming from the same funding stream, you can braid, like WIOA funding or state tax credits or whatever the funding is. Our funding is from a specific checkbook at DOL, right? There is one problem. They put out 4 different contracts with the same funding stream. So there are 3 other companies, Aption, Apprenti, and I forget, besides us. You can't braid our funding together because it's the same account, right? All we need when we work with you, as I say, everything we do is free to the sponsor of the employer. The only thing we need to be able to issue a incentive funding check is a registration ID number and a start date, because the start date must be in our current plan year. And we don't care about name. We don't want to. We would love demographics in the sense of, are they minority, are they female, veteran, those things. But basically, all we really need at the end of the day is that registration number and the start date. So we don't ask for a lot. We do have a sort of a handshake agreement that we use with sponsors. Basically, it says, we're SOFL, this is what we do. You're you, this is what you do. You think you're going to do X number of apprentices this year in this or these occupations. And here's 10 things you can use the funding for, which is basically anything to sustain or expand a program or sustain an apprentice in a program, with the exception of issuing that $500 in a wage check, which it wouldn't last very long. But we do have some really good examples of supportive services, like, it can go for childcare, it can go for somebody lives across town from their job and doesn't have a car, it can go for a bus pass or a subway pass, whatever the situation is. So those things are all on the table. Curriculum development, HR time, you can pass it on to the employer however you want. It's yours to do that with. So
And I think the best thing is obviously you can use it with the HSAP fund and the AAR funds that you guys are already receiving. So
Yeah. Yeah, we all want to stay out of those orange jumpsuits, man. So.
But thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. And look, any of you, whether you have a question now or you have a question later, my email is in the chat, and you reach out, I will answer. That's, because that's what we're here for.
and since I will give that the slide or the flyer that Gene showed you guys, we'll go in with the slides and the other resources that I use to. Most of them are on apprenticeship.gov, but wanted to take information that's already out there and compose it in a nice package, because I do a lot of that stuff, but it doesn't come out as nice as neat. So
there's over the years I've developed, or I've sort of developed a library of stuff like that, like studies on ROI, how to talk the language of business, how to engage youth, mentoring, what's, good mentoring practice. And, so there's a lot. I mean, I would put out there that if any aspect of apprenticeship that you have a question about, and you want to know if there's something out there that will, besides me or Nicole, that will answer that question, happy to see if we can find that resource for you.
Okay, so this is the time. If anybody has any other questions for Gene or Nicole, you are welcome to ask at this time. I will make sure that I send out the contact information as well when we send out the recording for this, the slides. We'll also include their contact information. There is a question in the chat about getting that employer. Gene, you shared that employer form, if they can get a copy of that to take with them.
that's what I'm going to share.
Sure.
Okay, gotcha. So you're going to share that.
Yeah. And okay. I think you hinted at the question. We are an intermediary specific to IT and cyber, right? There are intermediaries out there specific to healthcare, HCAP. There are intermediaries specific to manufacturing, if hospitality. So if you're interested in knowing if there's an intermediary in something that you have, reach out. We have the listing, and we can, if there is one or more than one, we will happily give you that information.
Excellent. I'll add that we also, between Gene and I, have probably touched every major industry that an occupation can be registered in. So if it's not a question we can answer, like Gene said, we'll turn to the right person, but it might be a question we can also answer.
Excellent. Looks like Amanda has a question.
Hello, how's everyone today?
Good.
Hello.
So I kind of have a sidetrack question. I have been having conversations with some of our local high schools, and they are very interested about knowing if there's any new details about the youth apprenticeships. So I know last time it was discussed, it was still kind of in the, we're working on this stage in the federal government, but with an election year, it could be slow. Has there been any updates on whether or not that 900-hour youth apprenticeship is moving forward?
We have not seen that information published yet. I understand that it's there. I mentioned that I have been doing this work for 7 years. I just came off of 4 years of working on a youth intermediary, a youth intermediary, which was 16 to 21-year-olds, and worked with a lot of CTE schools and community colleges over that time to help get young folks into registered apprenticeship programs. I strongly suspect that, however the rules do come down, that there would be more of that funding that comes along. I will say I am a huge fan of CTE schools. That's why I threw that NetAcad thing up on the screen there for a couple of minutes. I am a product of what would have been CTE had it been invented back in 1966 when I graduated from high school. So I very much, and here I am. So I know that those kids, I personally think the CTE kids are the most valuable young folks in any given state. So happy to engage when it comes down, and see what we can do with that.
Thank you.
All right, does anyone else have any questions?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for allowing us to come and meet with you. We really do appreciate it. And like I say, please, any one of you, please reach out if you've got a question.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. With this great information, we're excited to continue this partnership with you guys. I know that we'll be seeing you again soon for sure.
Great, thank you.
Hey, we're gonna move to our next topic, which will be talking about grants. So we are gonna welcome up Rosalind.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be sharing a few updates on several apprenticeship grant activities that we have going on this fiscal year. First is the High Demand Apprenticeship Program. You all may be familiar with this one as you've received emails to share with your network about applying for this program. This funding is competitive award. It's awarded directly to the employers to incentivize them for creating new apprentices. Under the new legislation, the priority is given to the employers who hire and train youth apprentices or those that are enrolled in adult education programs such as high school equivalency, or obtaining their high school diploma, CTAE programs as well, and if they're in high school. The employers can receive up to $5,000 for each apprentice and can support up to 10 apprentices. The application window closes this Friday. This Friday at 5 p.m. is when the window closes for employers to apply. So please continue to share that out to your network. As of today, we do have 26 applications that have been submitted, and 6 of those employers are connected to our TCSG institutions. Next slide. For the Apprenticeships for Economic Recovery, this is funding that's awarded to the technical colleges to support the technical colleges in reimbursement for tuition, fees, supplies for on the job for those apprentices. And so far this year, as of going into this new year, we have processed $1.4 million in reimbursements to the technical colleges and supporting over 450 apprentices. Beginning this month, we will have our one-on-one meetings. The quarterly meetings will begin again starting this month with the colleges. So you should have received an email from me to schedule your time and also the reimbursement calendar so you can stay up to date on those deadlines and submissions and things we have coming up regarding this grant. The last day to submit an application, if you have not submitted an application for AER as a college, will be December the 20th of this year. And our goal for FY25 is to have all the colleges under the 50% of funds remaining by June 2025. Next slide. So the Public Service Apprenticeship Program, this is the same program that stemmed from the state-funded source, the High Demand Apprenticeship Program, but offers a little more flexibility. This funding is to support the city, state, and local government entities to getting into registered apprenticeships. So the employers are able to get the same, the $5,000 per apprentice to support up to 10 apprentices. And that application window will open later this fall. We will have our TCSG state board to approve the policy for this later in October. So be on the lookout for that application window to open, and we'll give you more information once the program policy has been approved. Next slide. And lastly, Adam will review with you all the updates on the SAFE grant.
Yeah, just wanted to give a few updates. I know we talked about it in June about some contracts to help you kind of, as a college, offset some of those administrative costs. So we're still looking at that. Then I would come down through the SAFE grant. So this would be funding to help you carry out any responsibilities of expanding registered apprenticeship programs. What we're looking at now is basically doing it by a per apprentice and per employer incentive. So you get funding by the number of apprentices that you have and enroll, and the number of employers that you bring on to the program. So we're still ironing out the details there, but look for that to come down in the next few months. And then just want to give you an update on, we're looking at also a pilot program with the local workforce development areas to help them bring on an apprenticeship navigator. So this will be someone that helped them kind of build out a framework around registered apprenticeship programs, help them work with businesses specifically to have those, know those, registered apprenticeship programs specifically. And then we put in their priority to work with the colleges as well. So that would be money to help them bring on a person specifically to be a subject matter expert in the registered apprenticeship programs. And then the last thing to mention is we are looking at going for the Safe Competitive Grant next year. And when we're doing that, we're going to kind of do listening sessions with local workforce areas and with the colleges. So we'll be kind of reaching out to you there to invite you to come to a listening session to see your thoughts on what we could do with that money if we applied, and the application process for the competitive grant. So just wanted to give these few updates. I think now we would like to just kind of end with, open it up to any and all questions that you may have with anything that we've talked about today, or specifically kind of with the grants. I know you've had opportunity to talk about the program development. There's a lot of times that questions come up about grants. So now is your time as the college to kind of ask us any questions you have. The team on the call.
Hi, Donna.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm sorry, my camera is not working today. I don't know why. But going back to HSAP quickly and the PSAP. So we have a county that will want to apply for these funds. Should we discourage them from applying for HSAP and wait for PSAP? Or can they apply for PSAP if they don't get HSAP? I just don't want to miss it because of a misunderstanding,
if there is city or
we don't know what the difference is yet.
Right. It depends. What type of entity is it? Is it a state, local government entity? They can wait. If they did put in the application now, it wouldn't disqualify them, or they wouldn't necessarily, it may get rolled over into our funds set aside for public service, once we get to that point. But we probably would put it on hold just to make sure that our processes and policies is approved by the board first. So if they applied now, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But if they wanted more time to set up the program, if you guys don't have the programs already set up and have those apprentices identified, if they wanted to wait, they certainly can. So it's up to them.
Do we know, is it too early to say yet what the advantages of the PSAP is over the HSAP for those types of employers?
So if it is a government entity, a city or local county government entity, it's going to roll into the public service, into that program. If they applied now while we have the HDAP open, like I say, we may be just putting those on hold until we get those processes approved by the board, since they would technically qualify as a public service.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of money that's set aside for the public service apprenticeships program. So those city and local governments or states. So if they apply during that window, basically they're only going against other public entities. But if the application comes in now, we might want to hold it because it would be a competitive process against all the other employers.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Thank you.
Yes, we're working to try to make it a little more flexibility with the public service, as far as, the competitiveness. So I would think it'd be better to wait, but like I say, if they want to go ahead and put it in now, it's not like it would get canceled out or anything. So it's fine. Hope that helps, Donna.
I have a question too. This is Corbett. If I know our AER applications are ending in December of this year, but if there is a work process that comes through afterwards and we have additional funding, can it be a new work process for a covered area, or it after the December of this year, will you only be able to operate on those that already have job descriptions that are approved in place, or can you identify areas of growth that maybe a business, or it may be better for them just to look at going with some of the other funding, high demand funding. But I'm just wondering, could we bring on new types of jobs during this process after the applications have ended if we still have additional funding?
Absolutely. Yes, I think the flexibility will still be there. I think that deadline is mainly for the colleges that have not submitted or done an application at all. So if we do have additional funding remaining, which I'm certain that we probably will, there's flexibility with that. So.
Sorry, Tyrese. I was chatting you to bring down the screen to see everybody. Now you're sharing my chat to you, so you can stop sharing. I was just gonna have everybody up so we can talk to each other.
Okay, I do have one additional slide before we go there.
Okay.
Corbett, did I answer your question clearly? Did you have any follow-up with that or need any more clarity?
No. I'm working on a project with 911 dispatch. And so I was just trying to get some clarity because we're still kind of in the beginning stages, but I wanted to kind of see, what's the availability going forward. If that's a route that we end up going, would that be something that could be still covered? But we have to look at all the factors, I know, before we can get it approved. But I just want to make sure that was something that will be able to be utilized with the funding that we currently have.
Yeah, I would say to keep going with what your plans are. I wouldn't worry too much about that deadline since you guys already have an award. And like I say, it may be additional funding available. It's chances are very highly that there will be funds available for more funding to be dispersed after that date. So I don't think you have anything to worry about. You can keep moving forward with what you have going.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from anyone? Well, thank you all so much.
Thank you, Rosalind. Thank you very much. All right, so this has moved along very smoothly. Thank you guys so much for your participation. I did want to share just a couple of announcements with you guys. And right now, before I forget, I'm also want to share in the chat right now this is just a survey for your feedback. We want to pull in information from you guys to find out the things that you guys want to have events around in our trainings and meetings and discussions. So this is a really quick survey to find out the topics that we're talking about and that we're bringing to you, that they are relevant for what you want to know. And our team usually sits down and kind of discusses what you guys asked for. In the last survey, it was an overwhelming response for program development and employee engagement. And that's why we are talking about what we're talking about today, because of your feedback. We also get feedback from our team, some of the things that you guys may ask us about as we are meeting with you guys. So that feedback is really, really critical. So please engage in that survey. It also asks about if you want to participate in any of our trainings or meetings that you want to facilitate and share some of your experiences with the group, that would be welcomed as well. But just quick announcement, some of you may have already heard about the Georgia Apprenticeship Week is a national week, and this is the 10th year that it's been in existence. So this November the 20th of this year, we are having our apprenticeship summit. And this is going to be an event where everyone on this call, we hope that you will register and participate in. We want to celebrate our accomplishments and the things that we've been doing across the state. And this is also an opportunity for you to invite employers that you've been working with, engaging with, especially if they don't really know a lot about apprenticeships and they're curious. This is an event that they can come to and really see what we're doing. And so we're going to be highlighting, spotlighting, have a nice lunch, a nice session. It's going to be November 20th. It's going to begin at 9 a.m. and it's going to be at Lanier Technical College at the Forsyth Conference Center. And one of the things that we want to do is we're putting together a slideshow reel of pictures and videos. So please share with me. My email address is posted here. If you could share pictures, graduations, apprenticeship coordinators together, group pictures that you guys have, videos, pictures of your apprentices welding or in the workplace, EMTs actually in the field, working in their apprenticeship program. We want to be able to spotlight those important moments. So please share those types of media with me. The registration will be approximately $25 and should be open at the end of September. I wish it was open today, but it takes a little putting some things together for that to be possible. But the registration information will be coming out very soon. And as Rosalind already shared, the HDAP application closes this Friday. So please let employers know that they've got until the end of the week to go ahead and get those applications into us. Also, please keep us informed about events that you guys have, like apprenticeship, graduations, just regular events that you have that we could be a part of and support you if you need that support. If we know in advance, we do what we can to try to be there to support you guys when needed. And lastly, our next events that we have for 2025, we want to go ahead and let you know when those events will be taking place. So you can already kind of have the dates, at least the month that we're going to have those events. And so we try to do an in-person and a combination of virtual opportunities to come together. So please stay tuned for that. The last thing I wanted to share is I just want you guys to have the contact information. Sometimes people, especially the newer people, may not be aware of the program development and the grants management side and who our team is and who you can reach out to. So these are the names and the contact information. If you're looking on your screen, you can take a picture of it. Also, this presentation will be shared, but wanted you guys to have a copy of that contact info. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing at this time. And if anybody has any comments, if anyone wants to share, anybody from our team may want to share something we may not have had a chance to go over, the floor is now open for us to have discussions. Again, if you have anything that you have going on with the apprenticeship program that would be of interest to anyone else on this call, the floor is now yours.
I would like to say a little something about high demand apprenticeship program, the window application to apply is on Friday. Again, just want to put that out there again. But to also stress that I know a lot of the technical colleges are working with employers, especially with AER. So just know that these are two separate funding sources. So you can definitely take advantage of both, having the employer to take advantage directly over the high demand apprenticeship program for them to recoup the cost of hiring on those apprentices. And then the technical college, benefiting from the AER side. So just know that the employers can participate in both. And if you had employers that were awarded last fiscal year, they can certainly apply again to support new apprentices. One other thing, one of the technical colleges brought up a very great, it was a great tip that I would like to share. So if you're working with your employers for the high demand program, the application, what they decided to do, the technical college decided to share with the employer, they can save the application once they get to section 2, which is everything about the registered program. So when they save the application, it'll send them a link to get directly back to that application. And that employer can copy that link and send it to you all to help, with you all helping them to fill out section 2 about the RAPIDS program, the number of hours, all of that information. And then you would hit save, and that can be sent back to that employer for them to continue on the application. So I think that was very helpful with one of the technical colleges and getting the employers the information they needed, because we do get some calls about the employers not sure what to put there. They may put the wrong information as far as occupation codes. So you all helping them to complete section 2 of the application is truly helpful to them, I'm sure. And they're also welcome to call us anytime, myself or Tiara, if they need any assistance with completing the application.
Thank you. Anyone else, anything that you're challenged with that we can talk about now? We'll be happy to share and discuss. All right. Okay, guess everyone is good. All right, everyone. If you do have any questions, you can reach out to us directly. Does anybody on our team have any last words? Okay.
I think that's it. Thanks for joining. Just let us know where we can help.